What's up, y'all? Welcome back. 88 Fitness Trainer Live every Sunday, 12 Eastern. Today we're talking about fix your weak points, the real reason your physique isn't changing. But first,
updates. What updates do we have for them, James?
Well, I got some bad news. Oh, we'll do that one last. We'll save the worst news for last. Good news first. All right, I'm back and feeling good. Lost 3 pounds. Was able to stay on a diet. Workouts were good. Everything was great this week. Lost 3 pounds. Back at it. Back in it. Here we go, babe.
That's right. And I was down 1.8. So new time, all-time low. So that's good. We'll keep going. Hope to lose another 2 pounds or so this upcoming week. So we'll see how it goes.
It was the first day of summer this week, June 20th. Summer started. Summer is here. It is stinking hot.
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be like upper 90s here in Maryland this coming week, and I am not ready for that, y'all.
Me neither.
All right, for the bad news. So last week we said the Summer Shred Challenge was ending this week, but it actually ends on the 28th, y'all. I don't know whether it's like contest prep brain for me. I don't know what James's excuse is, but
Chris, good on you for confirming the date.
Yes.
However, since we messed up, we're going to eat it. We're going to own it. Aileen, I already got your pictures, buddy. So if you started eating, don't worry about dieting for another week. We will use your pictures from this week. Same with anybody else. If you stopped your shred this week, send your pictures. We'll use them. But we're going to wait till next week to announce the winner, y'all.
Yeah.
Apologies for the confusion.
Sorry.
Apologies for the mess up.
Carb deplete, I swear.
And good on you, Chris. You had the date marked and you confirmed with us, hey, you guys are talking about the wrong date.
I think we just like in vacation mode. Like we're always like weeks ahead. I don't know. Or maybe I never came back from vacation mode. It's one of those. And nevertheless, we apologize for that. So we're squared away now. June 28th, y'all. June 28th.
Yes. And, we started a new schedule with YouTube, so I'm still getting used to that as well. So we're kind of all over the place, but no excuse. Once again, we're going to own it. So
yeah. And I'm curious, how does everyone like the new kind of format for YouTube? The fact that there's like a theme topic going on. Like right now we have the Fix It series. James talked a lot about upper chest this week. You can probably guess what's coming next week. But let us know. Give us some feedback. See what you think there.
Yeah. This channel's for you. So if you're not digging a new format, please let us know. And Chris said I marked it on my calendar. Good for you, Chris.
He's on it. And Chris is like another all-time low this week in terms of the Summer Shred Challenge. I think I saw 161.
Hey.
So congrats there. That's great.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
But yeah, if you're new to this channel, welcome to 88 Fitness Training. We are all things hypertrophy. Today, we're going to talk a lot about how do you fix your weak points in your physiques from an aesthetics perspective, as well as a little bit of strength. We'll touch on that as well. So yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you really like the content that we're putting out, don't forget there's always super thanks. It keeps us providing great content to you guys.
Aileen's back. What's up, Aileen? Welcome back, baby. Yeah. Got your pics.
Yeah, appreciate sending those in. So yeah, are we ready to get into talking about fixing your weak points?
Sure.
All right. So first things first, you have to identify the weak point in your, aesthetic. So that can be a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people have it in their mind that they have a weak spot, and it's actually not. It's just something that you pick up on. And then other times they're just completely blind. Like they can't see that they have a weak spot. So it's definitely a challenge, I think.
Dave Buster's on. Welcome back, Dave Buster.
Hey,
good morning. Yes, and don't sweat it. Everybody has a weak point, y'all. When Jay Cutler was at the top of the game, he said, listen, I have weak points. I'm scratching my head going, Jay Cutler, I don't see any weak points. But he has weak points. And if you have a hard time identifying them, get a coach. Your coach will help you with your weak points if you have a hard time seeing them. People really don't see themselves. Very true, big, humongous guy look in the mirror and says, I'm small. Yeah.
Anyone that's like a bodybuilder competitively has probably that body dysmorphia to some degree anyway.
A lot of clients I've had lose a ton of weight and they look in the mirror and they still see the fat person still. So a lot of people have a hard time seeing their true selves. If that's you and you need a coach, you need help, go ahead and get one. They'll assess you. Most of them do it for free. Even if it's not, it's worth a little bit of charge to get your weak points pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, if anyone wants us to assess your physique and you want to send us a DM or email, like, go ahead and kick that email over to us. We'll give you our, honest opinion of where your physique is and what's lagging.
And once again, don't sweat it. Everybody has weak points. Mm-hmm. That's the sport. You dive down to see the weak points, to see the gains, and then you work the entire year to fix those weak points, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, I hear you, but you just about got that six-pack, buddy. So
yeah, it's definitely flat and it's starting to see some lines, my man. Definitely not a fat stomach.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, in competitive bodybuilding, you are judged on symmetry, proportion, as well as balance. So identifying those weak points and trying to correct them over time is essential if you want to place well. From a real life perspective, because we do have a lot of non-competitors, fixing your weak points actually helps with better posture, better shape, as well as confidence as well. So
yeah, you look
either way,
you look better without any weak points. If you have a glaring weak point, I mean, you got a glaring weak point, y'all. You can have a great chest, but if you're missing lats because you don't look at them, but everybody else going to when you go to the beach,
for sure,
it stands out. So just work on your weak points.
Yeah, in terms of how to spot the weak points, the easiest way is just going to be what's the visual gap. So that's taking those comparison photos, from the front, the side, the back. And then taking a look, which if you did this summer shred, you guys are, in an optimal spot because we shredded away some of that body fat. We can see more of the lean muscle mass, so we can see true weak points. And a lot of times we'll have clients that are, 20, 30, maybe even higher up on body fat over a lean physique. And it's hard to identify the weak points.
Oh, you can't identify weak points when you're bulking. I mean, unless it's a glaring missing body part, but most of the time you have to lean out to see where you're weak.
Yeah, in fact, in some of our younger clients, it's very interesting. Like, they will look very proportional. And then as they start leaning out, what we thought was actual muscle wasn't. It was body fat in kind of like in the shape of muscle. And so then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, like we are totally missing shoulder caps, or we're missing the, width to the back that we thought was there. So it's very, it can be challenging to assess.
Yep. Aileen said, I lost my glutes when shredding. I get it, Aileen.
I feel your pain, Aileen.
That juicy booty goes away. You're like, oh, man, what happened?
Next thing you know, you're like, shit, I'm SpongeBob.
Tina's on. What's up, Tina? Welcome back.
It's like the first thing that goes, I swear. So, yeah, you're not alone there for sure.
Get a belt. You need one. Dave and Buster, how you look can be deceptive. People guess my weight 165, but I'm 190.
Wow.
Muscle is denser than fat and looks smaller.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I get that all the time too. People think I'm 250, 260. I'm like, no, man. It's 208 this morning. I didn't know anywhere near 250.
For sure. Another way to identify weak points could be in taking measurements. Sometimes you will find an asymmetry from side to side when doing measurements. So for instance, maybe like one quad's a half inch smaller than the next. I know this is something James has tried to work on over the years. He's got a smaller quad for sure.
Yep. And you should be able to see that in pictures as well.
And then, if we're talking about a strength perspective, of course, keeping that training log is paramount. You'll start to notice that you're going to have plateaus in the amount of weight you can lift. Maybe, you're not hitting the same rep range. You've not seen an improvement there. So that can signify a weak point, like a physical weak point, not just a visual one as well.
Any muscle imbalance is going to be a weak point. So, and it's going to come up with strength.
Another interesting one, this one I actually am experiencing, is I have one quad where when I flex it, man, you can see all the definition, everything's like popping. When I flex the other one, it's not as defined. And it's actually interesting because it's not a symmetry problem, right? Like the tape measures and all that, they're identical. So really it's just like a muscle activation, mind muscle thing going on, maybe a slight body fat thing that's asymmetrical side to side. So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's very unique. I've never had a client or met anybody that can flex one side but not the other.
I mean, I give it, I definitely go after it. I'm kind of cranked down on that quad, and no matter what I do, I'm like, I can't get it to flex.
I think you got a neurological issue.
Yeah, something's blocking that particular leg, but hey, that's all right. I just don't pose on that side for bodybuilding. Another thing that's an interesting one is maybe like lack of a pump, lack of a mind-muscle connection. Sometimes I'll have a client where they're missing a lat on one side, and it's like, well, can you feel your lats when you're doing pull downs? And then you come to realize like, oh, they don't actually feel their lats and what's activating when they're doing pull downs and pull ups and things like that.
Yeah, and I've talked about that. Mind and muscle to the lat is tough.
It is tough.
It took me years, and we just had a competitor come for posing practice Saturday who said it took him years to get the mind and muscle connection to that lat. Most people feel in their arms and nothing else. So you really got to concentrate on those lats. It's going to help you with your lat spread if you ever do compete. So get that mind and muscle on your lat while you're working your lats out.
Yeah, maybe it's a challenge for you guys. Try to do a lat spread or flare to get those wings to kind of come out. It is super challenging if that's not something you've done. But once you master control of those lats and you can do that, you actually feel it in your training. There's a difference for sure.
Once you got it, you got it. But it can be pretty tough to get it. I mean, it took me years, like I said, before I got a really good mind and muscle connection to the lats.
And it's one of those things that like once you figure it out, you're like, how come I didn't notice this before or couldn't do this before? And then it's just always there. But yeah, so in terms of, from our perspective, the most common areas lagging on people, like, James will tell you with the men, it's usually chest.
Upper chest.
Specifically upper chest.
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
Good question. I guess they're not doing enough incline. They just come in flat bench press, flat bench press, flat bench press, and never do any incline, would be my guess. And then, of course, you have genetics that play a role. If genetically you've been handed a weak upper chest, then you're going to have a weak upper chest. You really have to focus on that.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking, because incline chest press is pretty common at the gym, but I was thinking maybe the incline's too high.
Too steep.
And so they're getting a lot of front delts, which is taking away the tension from the upper pecs in particular.
Yeah.
So maybe. Hey, Angel.
Angel back. Good morning, Angel. Thanks for tuning in, my man. And Aileen said front delt too strong. There you go. And once again, the commercial gyms inclines are way too inclined, so it recruits way too much front delt. So that might be it right there. Just nailed it.
Another one is the side delt. Like a lot of people have very strong front delts, probably because they're doing all that incline press. But when it comes to the side delt, like the shoulder cap,
nice cap.
They're missing that one for sure.
It's same, all the pressing is going to kill your front delts, crush your front delts, just like Aileen said. Especially those steep incline presses. It's pretty much overhead press. But you got these big old front delts, and then you're missing the nice cap there. So side delts is something that's a weak area, very common weak area.
For sure. Rear delts probably even worse in terms of lagging muscle.
Yeah, I think that's just from people neglecting them. They don't really work the rear delts so much.
Yeah, a lot of times a good indicator for me that someone's got weak rear delts is that you see a lot of rounding of the shoulders or hunching in their posture.
Hunch forward.
And as soon as I see that, I'm like, hey, I bet they're not working those rear delts, those round boys, those upper back muscles. So there's probably some kind of weakness or lag going on there.
Yep, it's a good indicator.
For sure. Hamstrings are another one that, are usually lagging. And that's interesting. I think when you think about legs, like your quads are working all the time, like you're climbing upstairs, you're doing all these things, like, and it's not uncommon. Like typically your push muscles are going to be stronger than your pull muscles, which a hamstring's a pull muscle. So it's a common weakness or lag point in a lot of physiques.
Yeah. Aileen said calves. You are 100% correct, Aileen. See a whole bunch of guys got everything. I mean, great upper body, great legs, and then you get to the calves and you're going, oh, what happened there, man? Are you skipping them, or is just genetically you've been shortchanged? I've seen both.
For sure.
All right, Angel said I like doing hamstrings. All right, Angel, good stuff, baby. Any leg day stuff that you can enjoy, go for it.
takes a special person to like those hamstrings, because once you're reaching like true kind of like technical or muscle failure on those hamstrings, it's a nasty burn.
All right, Dave and Boss, I address imbalances by hitting a body part twice in a workout. First do a compound, then do a dumbbell isolation.
Very nice. Yeah.
Very good.
Good strategy.
Big T's back. What's up, T? Welcome back, baby. Thanks for tuning in, T.
Yeah. Other lagging muscle groups, we talked a little bit about it already, but like lats. A lot of people are missing just that V tapered look. Specifically, I think they're missing a lot of lower lat. Like right where it ties in at the bottom there.
You said it. I worked on lower lats for probably 10 years, yo. I mean, I got them now, but they were a weak point for probably 10 years. And just trying to hammer them over and over and over and over. Trying to get that mind to muscle connection to the lower lat and just hammering them. They're no longer a weak spot, but man, they were forever. Big T said, just finished blasting arms. Now doing my cardio, watching you guys. Outstanding, T. Get some, baby.
Yeah, lats are one of those things where I've always had that kind of tapered look, broad shoulders. I used to hate it when I was like a kid, like in grade school or whatever. Now I'm like, hey, I don't have to work that hard on these lats per se. And I don't,
Genetics.
Yeah.
Born with it. All right. Chris says, I've been doing a lot of kettlebell swings this year for hamstrings and glutes. Outstanding, bro. That's another good one.
Yeah, for sure.
You usually get a little bit of cardio with that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of RDL. So for those that track me, I've pretty much for the last 4 years have been working on glutes and hamstrings specifically. I'm pretty happy with the progress that I'm seeing so far. Like week to week, I take progress check-ins and me and James look at them. And yeah, there's like a noticeable difference in how much hamstring definition that we're seeing. So
a lot more muscle.
So I'll take it. So those are the common weak points. We definitely over the next several weeks have videos coming out to address some of this for you guys. So if there's like a specific weak point that you have that you're curious about, let us know for sure. Hopefully we have it covered, but if not, then maybe that's something we can film something special for you guys.
Yeah, we're still filming the series. So if you have a request for a weak point, throw it in there. We'll get it in.
For sure.
Going back to calves, I was at a bodybuilding show. Johnny Jackson was the guest poser. If you know who Johnny Jackson is, he was a big bodybuilder. I mean, 100 years ago now at this point, geez. But my man's a monster. I mean, head to toe monster. And then I looked at his calves. I almost wanted to throw up, man. They look like my pinky. Just completely missing calf muscle. 100% gone.
Oh, no.
Not there. Didn't exist. It's a shame. They say calves aren't even judged. And after seeing that, I have to agree. Calves, you can have big, Popeye calves, but Johnny Jackson, he's probably going to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we really encourage posing practice with our clients, because you're up there having to remember to flex so many different things. What order are you flexing them in? Like sometimes, you just forget. Like I have to constantly remind myself, like, hey, don't forget to flex your calves too. It's not just about, squeezing the back and the biceps and the hamstrings, but not the glutes. And it's like, it gets very technical very quick for a competitor.
Yes, and that's why you practice, and you should practice with a coach. The same guy I was just talking about with the mind to muscle connection was posing yesterday, and I came up and poked his bicep. Guess what?
Wasn't flexed.
It wasn't flexed. He had it on his hip. He's a physique guy, but he wasn't flexing it. I said, whoa, dude, you got to flex every single muscle when you're on stage. You can't go up there and just get in a position and rest. You look good, but flex the freaking muscle. You look great when you flex the muscle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just make sure you flex it. Angel, you need to get a full stretch to help the calf grow your calves. Great advice. I mean, we preach muscle stretched under load.
Most potential for growth.
Most potential for growth.
Yeah, I mean, we can get super nerdy with that. I love that topic in particular, but and it actually fits in. We'll come back to that, Angel, because I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about that.
Right. Big T, thoughts on doing a vacuum exercise to help getting the waist smaller and tighter?
I think there's going to be a limit to how much that works, but I do think doing that type of vacuum training is good, because if you think about the body in general, like it almost has a built-in weight belt, right? So if you actually can control those muscles and work those muscles, it's going to help you with all of your compound lifts. So yeah, I think that has value. But for most people doing a lot of that vacuum work, they need to lean out more. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So
we actually made a video on vacuuming. We might be able to put the link in the description here for you, T, if you want to check it out after this. Native Grit, I was going through withdrawal since I haven't been here in a few weeks. Welcome back, Native Grit.
It's nice to see you live. I know you've been watching like after we film, but welcome back to live.
Hopefully you're feeling better. We're still praying for you, brother.
For sure. All right. So how do you fix these weak points, right? So you definitely want to be very strategic and very smart with your exercise selection, you guys.
Obviously.
Yeah. You're going to want to choose the right moves. My best advice for you guys is to match the exercise with the true muscle function and how it works. So that might mean you have to do a little bit of homework to figure out like what fibers make up that muscle group. What direction do those fibers run it?
Listen, y'all, I already did your homework. All you got to do is watch the Fix It series.
That's true.
And follow the workout in the series, right? But here's some other advice.
Yeah, I mean, you think about rear delts, right? Like the muscles run in a horizontal fashion. So you think about exercise where you're pulling horizontally. That would be your face pull, your bent over lateral raises. So you're going to want to do a horizontal motion there.
Yep.
Other examples. You could think of lats, right? A lot of people don't really think about the lats. They just pull, do pull downs all day long, straight up, straight down, but realize your lats are very big muscle, right? And the fibers actually run you can bucket them in 3 different directions, right? They kind of flare out this way, and then they taper this way, and then they come down by the iliac crest. So make sure you're actually changing up what type of pull down you're doing, what angle the pull downs are at, and the like.
Yeah, I was thinking chest. Your pec major goes this way, but your pec minor runs this way. So you got to hit it different angles to hit both of those muscles. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Aileen, I practice flexing it and then find exercise that recreate the flexing movement.
That's a great strategy. For sure.
That is a great tip.
Yeah.
I never thought of that one before.
Flexing in between sets helpful for mind muscle connection too. So sometimes when our clients are struggling to really feel the muscle while they're pulling, we have them like flex between sets and stuff.
Yep. And it's also intensifying technique. If you've never done it, go ahead and do a set. Flex that muscle for 30 seconds and then go do another set. No rest in between. Whoa, baby.
Oh, yeah. In terms of some other tweaks that you can do that really help, in my opinion, is one, you're going to want to prioritize the weak part early in your session, right? Like if the hammies are what's lagging, you're not going to want to necessarily go do some really heavy squats to start your workout. Like you probably would prioritize deadlifts or RDLs as your first exercise or compound.
Prioritization. Yeah. Joshua Daly. Welcome on, Joshua. I got ACL meniscus surgery on Tuesday. Oh, already looking forward to healing up so I can get back in the gym, make the game.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's right.
Yeah. Hopefully you have a speedy recovery.
Yes. We'll be praying for you, Josh. Aileen, unilateral works too. My man, you are nailing it. If you do have a weak point and one side is weaker than the other, the unilateral work will bring the weak side up.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you start thinking about a lot of the compounds, it's very easy for the stronger side or the more dominant side to help compensate for that. Or sometimes you'll recruit other muscles that aren't even the target, that you're working to help compensate that weaker side. So doing unilateral work can help. And then you can also kind of do it to where maybe you're stopping working the dominant side and you do unilateral work on the lagging side to bring it up. So lots of different techniques there.
Yep. Dave and Buffs, the upper traps are horizontal, so use a wide grip. You can do while barbell shrugs. Use a wide grip on the barbell shrugs when you're doing shrugs.
Nice.
Good advice. I'll have to try that. I'm not sure I've ever tried a wide. I usually go shoulder width.
Right. But I guess when you're doing some like upright row stuff with dumbbells, you do a wider elbows flared kind of grip or position. So
I'm going to try that out, Dave and Buster. Thank you for the tip. I'm gonna see how that feels.
Yeah.
Angel said, lighten the load and learn how to squeeze the muscle before you go heavy. 100%, Angel.
Absolutely.
If you can't squeeze the load, it's too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the perfect rep, you lift it, you squeeze, and then you lower it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that squeeze part, you're lifting way too heavy.
For sure. Another strategy or tip could be to switch over to cables or machines so you have more of that constant tension. If you're always doing dumbbells or maybe even barbells with things, just switching that up can help speed up that lagging muscle group and provide additional stimulus to you.
All right, Miss Kektik. I hope I'm saying that right. So as long as you lift consistently, you'll get stronger, yes? And you'll eventually max your genetic physical potential, regardless of training like Mentor or Arnold. I don't know about that, brother. A lot of people waste their time in the gym. You got to go hard, you got to go heavy, and you got to progressively overload, or you're not going to make gains. You're going to stay the same. Yeah,
I agree with that. I would think that it's very rare for someone to actually, especially a recreational lifter, to reach their genetic potential. I think it's a cop-out. I think a lot of people just don't have the mental grit that it takes to push themselves to the limit they have to even get near that genetic potential.
Go ahead and say that again. Preach, girlfriend, preach.
I mean, myself included, right? Like, it hurts sometimes. Like, there are times where I'm just not in the right headspace to go to the gym and do what I need to do. And, that's something you have to get over if you want to reach that full potential.
This is where I think the most fail point is at the gym. People think they're working hard when they're not. People think they're lifting as much as they can when they're not. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients, these are highly competitive clients that have been working out for 20 plus years consistently, and they come in and say, I can't lift that weight. And I said, get under there and lift it. If you can't, I'll pick it up off you. But guess what? Every single time they lift the weight.
Absolutely.
They got a mental block here saying, oh, I can't do it, when they can. And that's where most people fall short. I mean, I'm talking top athletes, top trainers, etc. This is where most people fall short. They think they're going hard when they're not.
Yeah.
315 for 10 is hard. It takes a lot out of me. But I can do a heck of a lot more than that, yo. And progressively overloading, I do add every single week to continue to make the gains. It's gut busting effort, and it is hard.
Absolutely.
And most people fail. That's where they fail.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like training like Mentor and progressive overloading, over time, you're going to have to make changes, right? Like, you're not just going to be doing barbell flat bench and continuing for 20 years, like lifting all the weights in the gym. Like, that's just not going to happen. You're going to have to get smarter with your strategy and add rest pauses in there, change the exercise. If you've been doing flat barbell bench, switch to dumbbells. In fact, I just did that this week. He was out in the gym with a client. They were hogging the squat rack as usual. So I was like, well, I got to get my flat bench in. Let me do dumbbells. And I had actually, if you guys follow my Instagram, I was doing dumbbells for like a solid year. And then I was like, okay, I've hit a plateau. Like, I can't lift anymore, or I'm not controlling this weight. Let me switch to barbell. Well, I switched back to dumbbells, and I hit the 60-pound dumbbells. I think it was for 9 reps. You can see the video if you go to Instagram. And that was a PR for me. And I was like, wow, okay, that's great. So you got to, switch it up to keep progressing like that.
You're welcome, Ms. Tactic. Happy to help. Big T says, as we get older at the age of 40, it becomes harder for a person to build muscle. Myth or fact? It's a fact, brother.
Yeah, there's some truth to that.
Everything gets harder as you age. And the older you get, the harder it gets. I mean, you fight it and try to keep your muscle, but you're never going to be 18 again. You're never going to be 25 again.
Yeah, our ability to recover, Terrence, also slows down, right? Whereas when we were in our 20s, we could recover very fast and create a lot of damage and recover from it in the gym. And then now you got to give yourself more time. But not only that, the more advanced of a trainer you become, like, your ability, like your protein synthesis window is not the same. Like a beginner person can continue that on for days and days and days and build muscle, whereas the advanced lifter has this narrow, like, 24, 48 hours where they're able to generate protein synthesis. So literally, biologically, it's harder to build that muscle.
It is. And remember, you know, the more muscle you have, the harder you have to go to build more muscle. So once again, you need more recovery time. So keep that in mind. Stimulus and recovery, baby. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it's going to be harder, but you can still do it. Still fight it.
Right.
Keep fighting, Big T. Keep fighting, baby. Angel said, do pyramids and sandwich eggs. Great intensifying technique, Big T. As you get old, your body's going to start. Yes, Angel said that. But Big T, as you get older, your body's going to start getting beat up from the heavy weights. So like Angel said, a good thing to get around lifting those heavy weights and still making gains is pyramid sets, sandwich sets, intensifying techniques, etc. So that you don't have to hit the heavy weights so hard, right? All right. Dave and Buster, once a month I do a 1 rep max, then adjust percent load to match my strength gain. That's fantastic. That's powerlifting.
Yeah. In fact, I kind of like that concept. I would call it like power building, right? Because it's kind of a hybrid between powerlifting and bodybuilding. And that's a great way to gauge your intensity, right? Because a lot of clients think that they're lifting with true intensity, like all out intensity, but they're not. It's hard to perceive that. So, you know, if you think intensity, I would recommend doing it percentage based, and that's a great way. And you don't necessarily have to do a 1 rep max, right? I think you can use different calculators based on a couple reps and all that, but it's a great strategy for sure.
I think that's fantastic, Dave and Buster. That's a great way to progress with overload, as long as you continue to do it every single month and you're getting stronger every single month. That's fantastic. I mean, that's great. Instead of adding a rep or a weight every workout, you just readjust every month with your percentage. That's fantastic. I mean, that's
for sure.
That's genius, Dave and Buster. I love it, baby. All right, Dave and Buster use BCAAs to jumpstart muscle synthesis. You are correct.
Absolutely. If you don't have the aminos floating around to build the muscle, you're not going to build the muscle, you guys.
So BCAAs are isoleucine, leucine, and valine. Valine?
I'll take your word. I can't have a memorized.
Isoleucine is the important one. It unlocks your muscle building stuff.
Mechanisms.
Yes, thank you. Geez, I can speak. So make sure you get your BCAAs in after your workout, just like Dave and Buster said. Great tip, my man. Miss Technique, slowing down your reps, positive negatives can help you intensify without the need for heavy weights. 100%, baby.
Yeah.
The negative portion of the rep actually does build more building than lifting it. So keep that in mind. The slower you go, the more muscle you're going to build.
Absolutely.
All right. Native Grit, have you tried any belt squat machines yet? Man.
We have like no access to one.
So we work on post, which is an Army post, and they were getting new equipment about 8 months ago, and one of them, the belt squat machine, and guess what? It's not in yet.
There's a nice picture of it hanging on the wall.
There is a nice picture of it.
We know where it's going.
They got a picture of it where it's going to go when it comes. All right, if you know anything about the government, it moves at a snail pace, baby. So we are going to get a belt squat machine. We just don't know when.
Yeah, for sure.
They said January. They didn't say what year.
So yeah, some other techniques. We're talking about some of them there. You guys are just already on it. That's what I love about this channel. Other techniques are pre-exhaust. Or post-exhaust, right? Adds a little stimulation, a little intensity to your lifts.
100%. And like Angel said, I've been loving the sandwich sets lately. That's a pre-exhaust and a post-exhaust.
Yeah.
So you hit an isolation compound, then back to the isolation. Man, it's a burner, baby. I'm making gains with the sandwich sets, let me tell you.
Yeah, the other thing would be the supersets and drop sets to intensify, especially on the lagging muscle group. And then, of course, controlling your tempo. You talked a little bit about this, that there is 3 portions to the lift. One of the things that I've been doing, especially for the glutes and the hamstrings lately, is pausing in that stretch position, right? So that actually requires me to lift slightly lighter weights. Like I can't RDL the same weight if I'm taking a 1 second, 2 second pause at the bottom. So that, you know, that helps. That helps with our joints. Like we are older, so I want to protect all those. So, you know, it's a nice strategy to lift a little lighter, but get the same benefit.
And once again, muscle stretch under load So she's pausing in the stretch position. She's also pausing in the squeeze position, y'all. She's just adding another pause into the rep, which is another intensifying technique.
So the reason stretching the muscle while under load is so advantageous is that you're creating passive tension, right? So when we lift weight, we're moving the weight over a distance that creates tension in that muscle. It has to do work. But if you think of your biceps, you know, you could do a bicep example, right? Like if I stretch my arm all the way out, and then I let go, it goes back to normal, right? So that recoils passive tension. So if you can create that, you can stress those fibers out without actually doing anything, which is brilliant. So if you're not stretching those muscles, add that in, you guys. You know, if you're like, hey, I'm missing bicep peaks, but you're never truly stretching out your arms doing bicep curls, well, there you go. Like that's maybe part of the problem. What else? Anything else for techniques and tips?
I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah. So let's move on now to programming, because this is one of the questions we get a lot. Like, how do you manage the programming to get that lagging body part to come up?
This was a big debate on Instagram, Hawkzilla, if you follow him. And he was on a podcast with somebody. What's more important, intensity or programming? To me, it's a no-brainer. You could have the best program in the whole world.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing the intensity, it's not going to work. So once again, Miss Kektic, you could have the best program in the whole world, Mensa or Arnold. If you're not bringing the intensity, it's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
So intensity is always number one.
Yeah, I would agree. Like intensity definitely matters. And remember, gauge the intensity based on a percentage of your 1 rep max. It's like one of the best ways to gauge intensity, because our body's going to lie to us. You're going to be like, oh, I did like a bunch of bicep curls, I'm pumped and it burns. That was intense. But was it? Like, it might not have been. Like, I could do a bunch of just fake curls and be like, this burns, that felt intense, but it's not, right?
True. I mean, go to posing practice. And squeeze that bicep. Go ahead, hit a front double bar and hold it for 2 minutes. You're going to be burning. You're going to be sweating. It's going to hurt. Did you make any muscle gains? No,
for sure. Didn't. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, in terms of, so intensity would probably be number one. I would agree with James.
No doubt.
Yeah. When we're talking about like reps for this lagging muscle group, you know, I would recommend 6 to 12 rep range. I think that's pretty good. It's pretty common.
Common hypertrophy range.
James really likes 6 to 10, but I'll tell you what, like if I'm doing my set and I reach 10, I'll go ahead and just reach for 12. Sometimes one of the things I'm striving for is true control of the weight. And so if I can hit 10 and I don't feel fully under control, I'll say, okay, you know, maybe next week I'm going to go for, 11, 12. I'm going to keep doing that until I can fully control that weight and get the most out of it before progressing to the next stage. And so that's why when you hear me say, 6 to 12, that's why I'm telling you the 12. But yeah, if you can do more than 10 and it's clean, very technical, then go ahead and progress to the next weight.
Yes. And always control your weight, Joe. If you can't control your weight, go to that.
All right.
Aileen, calves example 3 times per week and first and last exercise in the workout day.
Interesting.
Interesting one. Calves recover pretty fast, so you might be able to hit them 3 times a week.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that as well. My best advice to you guys is like, you should be able to go back and hit that muscle group in 3-4 days. And if not, because you're so sore, then maybe you went a little too hard. Like, you don't necessarily want to create so much damage that you can't recover from it. So keep that in mind. And at the same time, if you're like, oh, I could go out tomorrow, like I just hit calves, but I go out tomorrow and do some more calves, your intensity probably wasn't there. So, it makes a difference.
Yeah. Penny's on. Welcome back, Penny. She said I'm on a stair stepper. All right. Get some, baby. You and Big T doing your cardio right now. That's outstanding. Dave and Buster, when you're over 50 years, use 70% of your 1 rep max to prevent injury. Good advice. Native Grit, what's your calorie intake right now? Well, if you're watching the community, Native Grit, you know I've been at 2,100 calories for a very long time, brother. I mean, months now at this point. We went on vacation. I gained a bunch of weight. So I went back to 21. Well, I was on 2,100 calories, except for when I went on vacation. That was 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago.
Like at least 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, and I'm 2 pounds away from my vacation weight, but I was sick for a week, so really 2 weeks. And I'm 2 pounds. I'm down to 208. So I'm 2 pounds away from pre-vacation weight.
Nice. So Chris says, my split schedule changes based on what isn't sore. So that can work. Like I don't have a regimented, I work this on certain days. Like I will wait until I'm fully recovered before I train that muscle group again. So my split does float throughout the week, but Chris, make sure you're documenting like how, like the frequency does matter in which you're going to hit the body part. So you wouldn't want to like say, work out a bunch of stuff and skip chest for too long kind of thing. Especially if you're trying to grow it. So definitely record the frequency and making sure you're hitting that muscle group enough.
My schedule split doesn't really change. I might put an extra rest day in there. But the split, if I change my split, I'm never going to do legs. So I'm not going to change the schedule of my split.
Yeah.
Because legs would be out the window. I'd be skipping legs off. Nah, they're sore. I'm going to do chest today. Nah, legs are sore. I'm going to do chest today.
For sure. In terms of volume, because this is a question I get a lot too, like in general, I would say your average person 6 to 10 sets per muscle group per workout total, right? I think a lot of people beat a dead horse sometimes. They're like, I want the chest to come up, and they're sitting there an hour and a half later still doing chest. Like that's just junk volume. You're not hitting the intensity. Right?
You're not working hard if you're doing chest for an hour and a half. If you're working hard, I'll give you an hour max. And then your chest is done. It's going to be done. If you aren't, your chest isn't done. Like you can't do one push-up, literally one push-up after an hour. You didn't go hard enough, yo.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we said earlier. Intensity, hard work. People fail at it. Like I said, 315 for 10 is hard.
Right.
But I was doing that years ago, yo. So obviously I'm doing a whole lot more than 315 for 10 now, or I wouldn't be making gains. But 315 for 10 is still hard.
Sure.
All right, Aileen, at 54, I do bro split for bigger recovery. I agree 100%, and so do I, Aileen. But like I said, if I have to throw an extra rest day in there, I'm not recovered yet. I can't give 100% to whatever it is. I will throw another rest day in there.
Yeah, going back to the 6 to 10 sets per muscle group, make sure exercise selection matters, right? Like, so if the exercise that you peppered in there isn't targeted towards a lagging muscle group, well, then it doesn't count towards your 6 to 10 sets for that muscle group, you guys. Like, I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but if you're blindly just following someone else's program, and this is the biggest mistake I see, is that someone will just blindly follow like an influencer's workout program, and it's like, yeah, but their exercises were targeting this. You're trying to target this. So that exercise doesn't make sense. It doesn't count towards that volume that you're trying to create for that lagging muscle group. So
yeah. And once again, the more volume you do, the more recovery you're going to have to do. So keep that in mind as well. It's always balanced.
Yeah. One other thing on the volume before we move off of that, you know, if you are a beginner, maybe even intermediate, you're going to want to keep your volume to the lower end of that. So like 6 sets for that muscle group per workout. And that's because like when you're a beginner, you're more sensitive to creating damage. You're not as accustomed to the exercises. You're going to get really sore. You're going to create that damage and you're going to have to recover from that. And so I recommend limiting that volume. Now, an advanced lifter like James or I that's been doing it for a long time, I can't create that, you know, amount of damage with the 6 sets. So I'm going to have to like be on the higher end of that volume range. I can handle a little more volume than a beginner or recreational lifter.
Yeah, and going back to influencer workouts, I've told this story before, but it's worth telling again. I'm from the 90s. Ronnie Coleman was ruling the world, the bodybuilding world, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Ronnie Coleman, baby. He did 3 exercises for legs. Lunges, squats, and leg press. I looked at that and said, I'm going to do 10 times more of that. I'm going to do 10 exercises for legs. Ronnie Coleman only does 3. My legs are going to be so much bigger than Ronnie Coleman's. Guess what? He was putting the intensity into those 3 exercises so that he couldn't do any more.
Yeah, and he probably created enough damage to generate the growth that he needed. He didn't need to do more than that.
That is correct. And guess what I wasn't doing? I wasn't bringing the intensity to those exercises, which is why I could do 10 of them. I was going through the motions. I wasn't progressively overloading and just saying, I'm going to beat Ronnie Coleman because I'm going to keep doing these leg extensions, right? I'm going to keep leg pressing. I'm going to keep whatever it was more than Ronnie Coleman, but not harder than Ronnie Coleman. And Ronnie Coleman is bringing the intensity and he's going harder. That's the mistake I made as a young man. Had to fix it. Go harder. It's not how much you do, it's how hard you do it.
Yeah.
All right. Aileen, big muscles need less volume like quads. Penny, nobody can beat Ronnie. He is the GOAT, Penny.
Greatest of all time.
I agree 100%. That man was a beast, and I don't think there will ever be another Ronnie Coleman. Hans, that's not the case for me. When I was weak and small, I could do a lot of volume. These days, I do less and less volume because I got so strong. When I do 2 sets of Romanian deadlifts, I am sore for 5 days.
You know, so as we mature as lifters, the quality of the lift improves.
And once again, you've gotten stronger, so you're going harder. Yeah. You don't have to do as much because you're going harder and getting stronger.
Yeah, I mean, even when my clients, right, if I put 4 sets of RDLs in their program, I do that in general because I'm assuming they're not providing the same intensity that like I would provide, right? Like I'm not doing 4 sets of RDLs either because my all-out sets are enough. I do 1 or 2 and call it a day. But yeah, in general, for other people's programming, you have to take into consideration whether they're truly going to hit that intensity or not.
Dave and Buster, soreness isn't always a good indicator of recovery. You can meet your previous strength level, probably recovered even if you're sore. Thoughts?
I 100% agree. Soreness is not a good indicator of recovery. A true indicator of recovery, in my opinion, is can you lift as good or not better 3 to 4 days later? So it's a strength indicator.
So if you can meet your previous strength level, you're probably recovered.
Exactly.
There it is, Dave and Buster.
I mean, soreness does mean something though, right? And a lot of times soreness means inflammation, and inflammation over time is not a good thing for the central nervous system. So do pay attention to soreness. But yes, from the perspective of like, if you think you can go out and hit your previous best or do better, then you're probably ready to lift.
And yeah, and for me, I don't know about y'all, but for me, if I'm sore, I can't lift the previous weight I just can't. I physically cannot do it. Once I'm recovered, the soreness is gone, then I can lift. But if I'm sore and try to push through and get the weights, I can't do it.
Yeah, just like I said, pay attention to that because soreness means something. So something is not right if you're still sore. So over time, that won't be good for you to keep lifting like that in that condition, even if you are hitting the strength.
Yeah. Big T, Ronnie would train high reps and heavy ass weights. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Big T, when did you see Ronnie do high reps, brother? I've never, ever seen Ronnie do high reps. Matter of fact, his pedigree is a power lifter. He started as a competitive powerlifter, was a powerlifter for years, so very little high reps was in his regimen, brother. Where you getting that info from, Big T? Ronnie Coleman did low reps and heavy weight, my man. I never saw him or heard of him doing high reps. Let me know where you found that from, Big T. Chris, inflammation is my issue. My elbow flares up and I need to decide to do legs or cardio instead that day.
I see that. You know, maybe that's one of the things.
More like an injury.
Yeah, if the elbow keeps flaring up, that's one of those things that you might want to work on correcting that to prevent that. So it depends what kind of elbow flare up. You know, sometimes you can add in wrist curls and things to get the elbow pain to go away. But I would definitely try to address that.
Yeah. Dave and Buster, a lot of times the soreness goes away after lifting. Blood flush, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see that.
If it's the same body part, I don't know how that's gonna work. But maybe a different body part, perhaps. Mistake there. Try a foam roller on the tricep above the elbow. Myofascial release. Myofascial tissue is the tissue in between your muscle and your skin, and it's in between your muscles, so it kind of wraps your muscles. A lot of studies saying that's what gets sore, not your actual muscle. So foam rolling is supposed to help with the myofascial release, help relieve the soreness with that.
Sure, for sure. All right. One other kind of thought on recovery, a good indicator you need some more time is that your performance drops. So like if you're starting to look at that logbook and you're like, things aren't looking so hot for this week or whatever, you might have either too much volume or, your intensity is low. That means you might need to pump the brakes for a day or two extra. I think James has said this before. Like he went into Planet Fitness the other day, did a set of curls, like, oh no, this isn't going to happen today.
Yep.
Took a rest day.
So it was my scheduled arm day, which is bicep and triceps, but I had hit back 2 days prior, and I didn't realize I was sore until I did my first set of preacher curls.
Yeah.
It was a warm-up set, so as soon as I did the first one, I put it back down and said I'm not going to be able to lift the weight I should lift while being sore. So I'm going to go home and I'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah. One last thought on intensity. You need to be pushing as close to failure while maintaining form. Like I think a lot of people, when they hear failure, they get scared, risking injury. But when we at 88 talk failure, we're talking technical failure.
Safe failure.
Safe failure. Like that means your form's going to break. Like you don't want the form to break down. So take it to the point where you're like, nope, form's starting to go. And then you have to stop there.
And once again, this is where most people fall short. And once again, this is where the science guys fall short. They go in and think they're going to change the angle by 30 degrees and that's going to fix it, which it might, but not if you don't bring the intensity. Bring your intensity and go hard or nothing's going to work. I don't care if you change an angle 30 degrees. If you don't bring the intensity with that angle change, it's not going to work.
For sure.
Even if the science says you're recruiting 30% more muscle with that angle change, it doesn't matter if you're not bringing the intensity with it, yo.
Yeah, I mean, we can get nerdy there too. When you think about your muscles, James likes to say a lot, like they fire in an all or nothing fashion.
Yeah.
And there's kind of some truth to that, right? Like you have your type 1 fibers, your endurance fibers, and then you have type 2, you got type 2X fibers. And in order to recruit all three, you got to lift intensely. Otherwise, your body's like, I don't have a need to pull in these like fast twitch muscle fibers. So, and those type 2s are actually the ones that grow the fastest, the biggest. So if you want that, that means you have to bring that intensity, especially in that lagging body part.
Yeah, they don't want to fire. You have to make them fire. And when I say fire, that's what it's going to feel like when you're doing it, because it's going to burn.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Angel, I have a bone spur in my left elbow, so I use sleeve to help with my lifting. Good for you.
Glad that works for you.
Yeah, fantastic. Work on that, man. That sounds painful. Native grit, yep, 3 to 4 sets. X form failure, not a number.
Yeah. And then in terms of progression and rotation, you got to track those lifts weekly, especially if we're trying to bring up a lagging body part, right? You're going to want to track. You can't just leave it to guesswork and try. I couldn't even tell you what I did preacher curls at last week unless I wrote it down. Like I'd work out so many different things. It's like keeping that all in your memory bank. It's like you're asking to fail.
You got to write it down.
Yeah.
Native Grid said numbers confuse me. So I'm going to call Camille out real quick. About 150 million times she does a set and she goes, I don't know how many I did. And then I'll count and I don't tell her I count and she'll say a wrong number. And I'm like, you did 9, not 12.
Yeah, I'll like double count or do weird stuff. Like if it's a technical lift, sometimes I'll film it so I can go back and watch. But like, did I actually hit? Or I'll count out loud while doing it and it helps.
David Buster, if you force failure, do it on a safe exercise like pec deck versus bench press. Thank you, David Buster, for saying that. Yes. Do not go to failure on your squats. Please do not go to failure on your squats. Do not go to failure on anything overhead. Please do not go to failure on anything overhead. Obvious reasons, y'all, but I can't believe how many people do this.
Yeah.
You can look at failed squat videos all day on YouTube and you're just shaking your head like, man.
I mean, people have died, so
that influencer, the
Yeah.
Filipino influencer, died failing on a squat. His spotter failed him. He should have never been going that heavy to begin with. He shouldn't have went to failure on squats, but the bar ended up rolling over the top of his head and it broke his neck.
Yeah.
And by the time he got to the hospital, he was dead.
I mean, this is where you use those intensifying techniques. You pre-exhaust, right? Like you would go ahead and hit like a set of leg extensions and then go hit your squat, so you don't have to go as heavy.
And put safety bars up, y'all.
Yeah.
He had no safety bars up. He had a spotter that had no clue what the heck they were doing, and it cost him his life.
Yeah,
Not worth it. Not worth it. Do not go to failure on your squats. If you want to fail on a big leg compound move, get on the leg press.
For sure.
Thank you for bringing that up, Dave and Buster.
Yeah. All right. In terms of more programming tips, you're going to want to not rotate those exercises for at least 8 weeks, you guys. And like, I get it. Like if you're lagging the upper chest and you're looking at his upper chest video, you're literally going to want to do that same workout for 8 weeks at least to bring up that muscle area before rotating out. And that's the biggest mistake I see. People want variety in things, but you got to ask yourself, what do you want more? You want to bring up that lagging body part, or you want variety? Because they kind of can contradict sometimes.
Yeah, and always remember, you got to give the exercise time to work.
Mm-hmm.
You do it once, okay. Twice, now you add weight or
Right.
rep. 3 times, now we're talking. You get to 8, and you've given the exercise chance to work, to do its thing, to build a muscle, to make you stronger. Do at least 8 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Angel, keep lifting, keep living, keep laughing.
I love
Time
that.
to get busy. Mow the lawn. All right, Angel. Thanks for tuning in, baby. Chris, that's why I use machines a lot. I don't use a spotter. There's a chest press machine at my gym. You can push with your feet to help. Fantastic. Yeah. If it's handles here, nothing across your chest, you can also go to failure without it crushing your chest and getting somebody to pull the weight off your neck, right?
Yeah, and what do you know? You can usually go a lot deeper too, Chris. That means you're getting more stretch across those pecs, leading to better growth and hypertrophy. So excellent.
Yes, train to failure, but do it safely.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Any other tips for them?
Stick with your weak points and correct them. You know?
Yeah.
It might take longer than 8 weeks. It might take a year. It might take 2 years. You heard me at the beginning say my lower lats were weak for 10 years.
It takes a long time. I've been working on hammies and glutes for 4 years. I still have more to go. So it takes time for sure.
10 years. So give it time. You keep doing the right things. This works. That's why I love fitness. That's why I love bodybuilding. It will work. It takes time, but believe me, it will work. And if it's not working for you, you're probably not intense enough.
Yeah. If you guys need help too, like don't forget, you can DM us. We can create custom programs for you guys. So that is a service that we offer. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Native Grit, my cardio today was cleaning my gym area.
Nice.
Please clean these areas.
Yes.
Good
It's
point.
a pet peeve. Like I hate working out at Planet Fitness because I'm going to do my lift and I'm looking at a tumbleweed of dust blow by and I'm like, this is just cringe.
Not to mention the bathrooms at Planet Fit. Oh.
That's why the toilets are black.
Man, that's why their toilets are black. Those nasty, nasty locker rooms at Planet Fitness. Oh, but what do you want for $10 a month?
Yeah.
Native Grit, I've closed Gold's Gym for 10 years. My shift was 1 to 10. The gym closed at 10. Guess what I had to do every single night at 10 o'clock?
Clean the bathrooms.
Put the stinking weights
Wow.
away. All the people that leave their stinking weights out or put them in the wrong spot, I want to punch you right in your face because I spent 10 years putting them weights away every single night. So I got to the point where I would try to hustle up and do it, and it would count as my cardio.
There you go.
The problem was it usually didn't take a half hour.
Yeah.
So I'd have to get on something else to finish the cardio, but that's how I would fitness started anyway.
Yeah. James and I went for a hike this morning, you guys, for cardio. So yeah, it was about an hour hike. We had a pretty challenging trail. I would say it was kind of like medium. A lot of elevation change there. And We were hoping to see some wildlife. You know me and James, like we are definitely there before dawn.
Yeah, we saw something. I don't know if we got any fitness enthusiasts out there. I don't think we have any hares like a big rabbit in Maryland. But what I saw had a little fuzzy tail like a rabbit, but it was big. Like,
you don't think it was a deer?
No way. It was 6 inches off the ground.
Oh, geez. It was Bigfoot, y'all.
But I mean, the rear end of this thing was like this, and rabbits don't get that big around here. It might have been a hare. If anybody out there has an idea what it was, let me know, because I'm a little lost right now. But we saw it for a couple seconds, and it went into the wood line. Aileen, I maxed all their machines at Planet Fitness.
That is a problem, especially if you are using machines.
You're too strong for Planet Fitness, my man. I love it. That's fantastic.
That happens anytime I'm on a non-plate loaded leg press at Planet Fitness. Yeah. Not only do I max it out, it doesn't have the right range of motion. You can't get deep enough to stretch the muscle. So, that one's a no-go.
Jack Rabbit, I like it. So, like, again, I don't think we have jackrabbits around here. Jackrabbits are huge, but I don't think we have them in this part of Maryland unless there was
maybe someone released one. I don't know.
But we go to West Virginia where they have the snowshoe hare. Those are big rabbits.
Lynx.
I mean, big. Ooh, I wonder if that was a lynx.
Scary.
You might be onto something, because it was big and we only saw its butt and it jumped into the wood line and then it stayed there.
Yeah, because it was the cliff. It was gonna fall off if it went any further.
It stayed there until we got a couple feet closer, and then it ran a little bit more, and we could tell by how the bushes were moving. It was a big animal, so
for sure.
That might have been like, hey, all right, Miss Hectic. Fantastic. Jackalope. Boy, I haven't heard that in a while. That's a deer-rabbit mix, I believe. It was like a Christmas joke for a while.
Funny. All right, y'all. Here's a little bonus for you. We'd be remiss if we didn't touch a little bit on fixing your weak points from a strength perspective. And this does matter because, lagging muscles affect your big lifts. Like if you have weak glutes, your deadlift weight's gonna stall. Like if you have weak triceps, you're gonna have lockout issues on a lot of your pressing motions, or if you have weak lats, you probably have poor bench press control. So these things do matter too. So in terms of targeting from a strength perspective, if you need to up that, just lower the rep count a little bit. I still wouldn't do like 3 reps per se or less. I would still stick to the 4 to 6, but it's slightly less reps than your typical hypertrophy lift. You can give yourself more time between lifts. So, maybe 3+ minutes there. And you can still do all the other things for hypertrophy, like, pause the reps, control the tempo, do good bracing. And then sometimes there's exercises you can do to help with strength. And we have videos in our playlist that you can look at for that.
Yep. All right, Native Grid, if we want to send you an item, do we DM you? Yes, sir. You can absolutely do that. Hit me or Camille on usually Instagram is probably the best one you can get. So.
Yeah, or you can always email us, you guys. Our email address is info@88fitnesstraining.com.
You'd be better off with a DM than Instagram.
It'd be quicker, but I get some people don't actually have Instagram.
Okay, so some of you all weren't on earlier, so I'm going to repeat. Camille and I messed up. The summer shred did not end today. If you sent your pictures in, you started eating, don't sweat it, we'll accept them. But the real ending of the summer shred is next week. We apologize because last week we said on live, this is last week, this is the last week, get your picture together, this is last week, this is the last week. So Tina, if you're on, you can send them this week. You can wait till next week. Aileen, I got your pics. If you started eating, brother, we'll use these ones. If you're still dieting, you want to send them again next week, we'll use those ones. So either way, it was our fault. We're not going to take it out on you guys.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I think next week, let's go through some popular questions and answers, some myth busting and misinformation when it comes to fixing your weak points.
Don't sweat it, Aileen. If you started eating already, man, don't sweat it. We'll use the picture set, baby. He said, "Oh, man, another week."
I'm sorry about that, you guys.
I get it. I get it, and we apologize. What are we doing next week?
So,
Myth busting.
Yeah, we'll do some myth busting when it comes to bringing up the lagging body parts next week. I think that would be a fun topic because there's a lot of misconceptions out there for you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will present those to you. We will debunk those myths. We'll talk about them at length. You can ask any other questions too on this topic because we are going to be talking about fixing the lagging weak points for several weeks here.
Yep. Aileen said he was going to maintain for summer anyway. My man.
All right.
Fantastic, baby. Then you should. Once you lean out, hold it for the summer, bulk in the fall and the winter, baby.
For sure. All right. So let's just recap a little bit. You know, we talked about how do you assess your weak points. Obviously, photos are going to be the #1 go-to. If you can't really see it, you know, ask a coach, find a trainer. You can always, you know, message James and I. We'll tell you our opinions too on what needs some more work. And then exercise selection matters. So be smart and selective on what exercises you guys actually pick out there.
All right, Miss Technic, thank you for the summer cutting challenge. I ate more clean because of that and have slimmed down a bit.
That's fantastic.
And great progress. Keep it up, baby. Chris said I'm probably going to still continue shredding a bit after. I feel like I have a little more fat to lose. I'll maintain until August. Fantastic.
I'm right
Chris.
there with you, Chris. I'm going all the way through August, so it'll continue on.
Yeah, and if you want to keep leaning out, go for it, baby. That's fantastic. Aileen says, yeah, me too.
I've been loving watching your guys' progress too. So
it's been great.
It's motivating for James and I too.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, let's all help keep each other accountable. I love it.
Outstanding. Yep.
Yeah. So we talked about exercise selection matters. Make sure you understand the function for the muscle group that's lagging and how it works, the direction the fibers run in and track in, all matters. Make sure you're not doing junk volume. Remember my recommendation of 6 to 10 sets per session for that muscle group. Make sure you're not peppering in other exercises that don't target that muscle group. They're not going to help them grow if it doesn't target it.
Yeah, and I think it was Josh that said, hey, man, I do 2 sets.
That's all you need.
If that's all you need, then stop right there. You're better off stopping, recovering, making gains than continuing doing junk volume and not pushing it and not going intense.
And then remember that you got to track everything, you guys, and you only rotate those exercises, you know, maybe every 8 weeks. But if you're progressing, you're doing great, you're seeing progress, I wouldn't even rotate those exercises. I would keep on going for a little while longer. So
yeah, if you're making gains, keep it up. Don't stop, man. Gains are hard to come by. I wouldn't stop anything. As long as you keep making gains, keep doing it. All right, Aileen says macros are maintained percentage-wise, question mark.
It's going to be individualized, Aileen. So what I would recommend, because you're coming out of a cut, you want to add or integrate food in slowly. So I would add a couple 100 calories at a time in. And once you kind of flatline, you're not losing weight, you're not gaining weight, you're stable for a little bit, add a little more. And then you're going to see this slight spike up. You'll come back down, you'll hover. Like that's the best strategy, I think, for maintaining. It's really hard to just toss a number out to someone because you just don't know. And you have to reverse a little bit.
Yeah, macro percentages are, you know, they're going to help. But calories is #1. And when you're talking macros, it's usually your carbs that you're changing. Your protein and fat usually stay pretty solid. And
I would keep them pretty balanced too.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't like overconsume carbs. I wouldn't overconsume protein, and like try a more balanced split.
Jay Udi, how to get good vascularity in triceps and biceps. You got to have the muscle. That's #1. You got to be lean enough. That's #2. You could try a VO supplement. They're not even called VOs anymore. What do they call it? Vasodilators. So now it's citrulline. That's a precursor to arginine. So
those are in pre-workouts too, though.
Yes. Citrulline makes your body produce arginine, which makes your veins swell. You beat me to it, Aileen. Beets, if you want to eat beets, which I do every day, it's a natural vasodilator. So it makes your veins bigger. It'll make them swell. So eat your beets and get some citrulline. And once again, you got to have enough muscle and you got to be lean enough.
Yeah.
If you're not lean enough, you're not going to see a vein anywhere. You're just going to see chubs, right? So make sure you're lean enough and make sure you have enough muscle. Jay Udi, which is the best arginine or citrulline malate and how we take them for better results?
I don't know if I have any specific recommendations for that. You know, like
get a good quality name supplement company and roll with that.
Yeah, try it and see if it works for you out. Everyone's so individualized. Like I could give you my top recommendation of what works for me, and then you might try it and say, well, this is crap. So
yeah.
Beets.
Eat beets. That's number one. And then citrulline. Usually pre-workouts, like Camille said, almost everyone has citrulline in it. Just get a good brand, a good represented brand that's not going to give you, sawdust. A can of sawdust and tell you it's citrulline, right?
Dave's got a great question, and Dave, I'm going to save it for next week for our Mythbuster Q&A kind of topic. His question is, do strength differences on each side equal visual differences?
Great question, Dave.
Yeah, we'll talk that next week for sure.
Aileen says citrulline's from watermelon, so that's another way you can get citrulline into your body. Beets and watermelon.
That's a great summer food for sure.
Yeah. Native Grit, I've been getting my goods lately from 5% Nutrition and Wolf Nutrition.
We like 5%. Yeah.
I am a big
Especially
fan
their
of
pre-workout.
5%. Yeah, we've been taking 5150 forever now.
For years.
I don't know about Wolf. I've never tried that one. Maybe we'll try
add that to the rotation.
Yep.
All right, you guys, if you haven't already, definitely go back and watch the Fix Your Upper Chest video. And, guy, girl, doesn't matter. A good upper chest is paramount.
Yes.
And all the exercises are applicable, whether you're male or female, especially for upper chest. And ladies, we want to work on that. So don't ignore that. It's a great video to watch. Great exercises James picked out for you guys.
Indeed.
All right. And so next week coming up, hopefully you guessed it, it's going to be Fix Your Lower Chest. So yeah, that's another great one. I think you guys will enjoy the content there.
Yeah. So for most men out there, upper chest and lower chest are your weak areas. A lot of guys got the mid chest. They're just missing upper and lower. So that's the first one we fixed. Those are the most common spots. All right. I'm not even going to read that out loud, Coyote. We're going to skip that question, brother. Dave and Bob, citrulline will mix with aminos to make glutathione.
I can't even pronounce that.
What is glutathione, Dave?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Just curious.
Yeah, well, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I love all of the knowledge that everyone brings to the channel as a community. Like, that's why we're here. That's why we started 88. We wanted to build this fitness community where we could lean on each other to educate and get knowledgeable on this topic. So I love everything that you guys bring to the channel and the comments and the interaction. It's truly fantastic. So I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for this week. I appreciate everyone tuning in. And yeah, we'll be here same time, same place next week.
Says gliothione is protein for muscle maintenance.
I'm going to have to look that up.
All right.
I'll write that down.
All right. We got to thank you. You're very welcome. It said that we got our abs really made in the kitchen, not in the gym. All your muscles are made in the gym, but again, you're not going to see them if you're too fat. So yes, you have to be lean. You have to diet, which means kitchen. And you're never going to see abs unless you're lean enough.
I mean, I've had a couple rare clients where they did get really lean and they're just not happy with the ab development because it is a muscle.
It is a muscle.
You got to grow it over time too if you want that three-dimensional six-pack look.
That is correct. I've seen people lean out and they got a flat stomach, but they're missing the abs.
Yeah.
So it's just like any other muscle. You got to progressively overload with the abs too. You got to build them or you're not going to have them.
Yeah.
Aileen, good week, guys. All right. That's good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Thanks for reaching out.
Absolutely.
And yeah, make sure you subscribe and hit likes to all those videos. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.
Hey.
Bye, everyone.